gardening fans. Welcome to Marvin Gardens, July 2017. I have my gardening fuel. And this is very late July. In fact, it is, as I like to say, July 32nd. Yes, it's August 1st. But the reason we delayed the July video was because I wanted to take advantage once again of the excellent cinematography of Mr. Craig Morris, my brother-in-law. That's the guy right there. And also because he's going to help me with the cinematography, my hands will be free, so we're actually going to do some harvesting as we go through. So where should we start?
Chive!
Woohoo! Oh, Frankie, nice hole. So let's run over here to chives. And actually, I should have my go ahead, you can use the water. There we go. You gotta have something to hurt. Oh, I should get a. I need to help her.
What do you need?
Yeah. Okay. Now I've got my helper. I've got at least one harvesting tool. And so the first thing we're gonna do here in chives is snip a few. And that's all there is to it. And we should be able to use them tonight. And as chives go, they just keep going all season long. They're one of the first to come up and one of the last to stop. And that brings us to bed number one, which, if you remember last time, the corn was about chest high, I think. Now it's well over 10 feet, and if you look through, you'll see lots of lovely ears of corn, none of which is quite ready yet. This one's probably as close as any of them are, but the silks need to get completely brownish and dried, and the ears need to fill out. So that's more of an August harvest, but as you can see, it's a glorious stand of corn. Oh, that reminds me, I have a little video clip to insert here because we had a storm come through and blow all the corn, almost all the corn, flat, and Benina and I had to come back in here and stand everything back up and stake them, as you can see here with all this blue twine, and you can see the stakes in there too. Almost every single stalk had to be stood back up, and that's not uncommon for a winter or summer storm to do that. But the good news is once you stand it all up, it seems to recover and do just fine. So let me show you that clip right here, and then we'll continue on. So this is what happens when a violent thunderstorm blows through when your corn is just about at its peak height. As you can see, everything is knocked down all over the place. And the only cure for this is to go in one by one, stand every stalk back up and stake it so that it stands up. Which is a daunting task, but the good news is that usually the corn is fine once you can get it to stand back up again. So we'll see how this turns out. Okay, so about 2.5 or 3 hours later, here we are. Everything is standing up again, courtesy of individually, almost individually, every single corn stalk staked and tied up, and There were a couple that were completely broken through, which may mean they're done for. But all in all, not bad. So if we don't have any more violent storms or hail, they should do fine. Okay, so we've actually had a couple more storms blow through and the corn has been totally unfazed, so our staking went quite well. Okay, over on bed 2, we've got leeks here which are mostly pulled. I left a few behind. I left the ones that looked like they were in sad shape and wouldn't be worth harvesting, and one that was just looked okay, but it's small. But the good news is we got a fairly good crop of stuff. I've got some in the refrigerator and some that I've actually cooked and frozen so that I can do potato leek soup.
My favorite.
Okay, next in line, look at these.
Cow, look at them eggplants.
Now, last year our plants just sort of fizzled out at the in mid-season for some unknown reason. They just kind of stopped growing and stopped producing. These guys have not had that problem. They're standing tall. We haven't really even been hit by flea beetles. I've sort of been on top of that. But look at these eggplants, which we are going to grill tonight. That's a beauty. Let me get this one. At least this one other one. And they're just gorgeous. And been doing great all season. Now, I managed to also knock off a pepper. This is a Felicity pepper, which is supposed to be a non-heat jalapeno pepper. So we'll see how it tastes. And I do want to get a few of those for this evening. Maybe we'll get 4 of them since there's 4 of us. Pepper list is Carmen, and these, if you let them go long enough, they turn bright red, but they're also very harvestable and edible at this size. So we'll get ourselves 3 or 4 of those, and just smear them with a little barbecue sauce and throw them on the grill whole. Are delicious. Toss those in there. Alright, now the next are Yankee Bell, but these aren't quite big enough to harvest, in my opinion. They should end up being a big blocky bell pepper, and they're coming in nicely, but I think they've got a ways to go. But that brings us to the last variety of pepper, and I actually did my homework this time so that I would remember the different varieties that I'm growing. And this is called escaline. Now, see, I forgot. Escamillo, I think it is. Escamillo. And they are a sort of similar to the Carmen, except for they turn, when they ripen, they turn this lovely shade of orange yellow. And I hope we've got 4 in that state.
You're going to need some product placement fees from Guinness.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get a lot of interest in
And also, Frankie just harvested a tomato.
Yeah, well,
Behind the videographer, he's having a lovely meal of tomato he picked specially for himself.
good boy. Yeah, we only have 3 that actually turned yellow, but they are really just nice little peppers. And most of these I haven't tasted yet, although Carmen I have, because I've grown it many, many years in a row. That brings us to tomatoes, and one of Frankie's favoritists. Right, boy? Did you eat all that?
Yeah.
And there are so many here that I'm not even going to attempt to harvest them all. But these, this end is Juliet's, and as you can see, there's lots of them that are ripe for the picking this very day. And we actually brought a whole bowl of them out to snack on while we're out doing this evening. Whoops, I just knocked that one down. But
Frankie's
like I said,
on it. Frankie's on it.
Good boy.
He got it.
I'm not going to even attempt to harvest all the ones that are ready, but this gives you a pretty good idea, and they're delicious. Our favorite tomato here at the manor, and then we've got a Roma variety here, and I have to confess now I've forgotten the name of this variety. They're not quite there yet. They're just a day or 2 away from being ready. I think all of these are. They're almost red, but there's still enough orange in them that I'm going to leave them, so I won't pick those. Frankie, did you miss this one? Come on. Do your job. If you pick them, you got to eat them. Good boy. The next row is Chef's Orange, and I'm pretty sure none of those are ready. This one looks like it's been chewed up a little bit, but you can see, maybe you can see in here, this nice cluster of them. They're a good sized tomato, but they turn orange instead of red, and they've got kind of a firm flesh, so they're very nice. And on the end here, if you remember last time, we were oohing and aahing because there were actually some tomatoes here. Well, you can see that now we have not only some tomatoes, we got lots of tomatoes, and they're pretty much huge. None of them have started to turn yet, but they won't be long before they're coming in. So, and I need to take a drink.
Excuse me, sir, what about ground cherries?
Oh, we missed them over there?
We missed ground cherries.
They're actually formally planted over there. So we'll get them. I did not cover no man's land, however.
Oh.
What do you think, Jesse?
I've watered all the pond.
Oh, now we've been joined by the French ballerina who actually keeps this place running. All right, so.
Oh my God, you got some stuff here.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I need to grab a trowel or something. And where's what happened to the harvest?
They're beautiful.
The basket.
It's right here.
Oh, okay, great. All right, so now we're on to bed number 3, and we're going to. We pulled a couple of onions. You can see the onions, you know when they're done, when they all fall over like this. So this is a good thing. And so we're about to harvest all the rest of them, but I'm just going to pull one for tonight. And so I like the look of this one right here. So this is the variety called Candy. They're very sweet. And they store okay, but not forever. And so we'll leave that one in there. We need to wash it off. The next row here is a red onion, and I believe, I'm not sure, I think there might be red wing. And this variety here is, I think, Alyssa Craig. and they're supposed to be huge. They did not get very huge this season, but they look okay. This is a weed.
There is more. Look at this.
That was beautiful.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
What'd you pull those?
Red onion there.
We'll take the
That's
red
a
onion.
beauty.
Okay, well, Vanina decided that those Italians were
Ready to go?
ready to go. And she's probably good. Now, where's my thing?
Look at those aroma tomatoes.
All right.
Look.
Those look good? Okay. So now this is potatoes, and we've got 3 varieties here. This row here, which shows virtually nothing except for this guy right here. And then that's dark red Norland. Then in the middle is Yukon Gold, and the far row is Kennebec. And you know when the potatoes are going to be harvestable when basically all the vines die back. So we've got in this row, everything has died back because this one is actually in the other row here. So I'm going to hopefully find us a few potatoes for tonight. We'll see. So far, it's not looking very promising. There we go.
Woo!
So this is again the dark red Norland. Those are the first ones to come in.
Beautiful.
So take those. See if we've got any others hanging around here.
I know.
There's another.
Gorgeous.
And as you can see, Frankie likes potato harvesting. And in the soft, sandy soil, although I usually do use a spade to find everything, it's soft and loamy enough that I can just go in here with my hands. And I always liken this to a Easter egg hunt in August. Oop.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Well, no, it's usually August for potatoes. I think that's enough for us to eat tonight. Oh, this is
There you go. Beauty.
yeah, these are all nice.
Yeah.
And no rodent damage, that's always good. Ooh, I can feel more. Some are little.
That'd be good.
More than enough for tonight. Any others in there, boy? Oh, there's one there. There's another one there. And one there. Two more.
I'd say that's pretty good, huh?
Yep. Oh, hey, Frankie.
I guess Frankie got one.
Decided to take it. I'll come back for those any more later. So that's not bad. For some potatoes. He's eating.
Yep. I love some.
You like it? Are you gonna finish it? No,
Maybe I'll have some more.
Don't dig some more, boy.
Like tomatoes.
I don't know.
You don't know?
Okay, that's bed 3 now. We're into bed number 4. And I'm not gonna pull it. Well, maybe this one. I might have to. We've had our flame balloon is coming to visit.
Nice.
Interesting. Air usually is not moving in that direction.
There's another one. Oh my gosh. The blue
Yeah, the
and green one.
blue and green one. Yeah.
They always come
They usually
together.
go up in pairs.
Oh, do they?
Hello. Hello. Hey.
flame balloon. That might be Marty piloting that one. That's the one that Pat and I
Oh
went
yeah.
up in our 10th
That's the
anniversary.
one that you went up, that one.
Yeah.
The flame one.
It's always fun to get a visit from them when you're in the garden. Anyway, we've had dozens of artichokes as opposed to the last time I tried when we got none. And there's a bunch in the fridge, which we're going to have tonight. And then this one, because it's already spreading out, even though it's small, I'm going to take that one. And that's all you do to harvest those guys. Then you just cut this back a little bit and steam or boil them for half an hour or an hour. And we've had some already. They've been delicious. Now that brings us on to celery. Celery, we've had lots of heads of celery. And let's zoom in on this one here. I'm going to pull another one tonight. And these newspapers were wrapped around here to, if you remember from last time, to blanch the stalks, so that hopefully the chlorophyll moves up and out of the stalks, which keeps them less bitter and more edible. So all you do.
Chloroform.
Well, luckily the chloroform left last month. My beloved sister is reminding me that I miscalled chloroform last month, but my brother-in-law was there to correct me. All right, so get rid of this guy, but then what you've got is a pretty nice bunch of celery there.
Wow, that's beautiful.
That's a good-looking one. And of course, with all this celery coming in pretty much at the same time, we're going to have a hard time trying to consume it all fresh. So we've been blanching and freezing celery sticks, but there's some nice-looking celery sticks there. So we'll put that in the basket as well, and move on to a related variety
Oh, I'll get it.
called
We'll take the basket as required.
Two big one here.
celeriac, which last month I pronounced as celeriac or something similar. So we're going to take one of those. I think they're ready, but they might have some time to go. So I'm going to pull this biggest one, just because it's nice to do a little harvesting in the garden.
In my experience, you can pull any size you want.
Yeah.
Or not.
Take one. Snip away some of the roots here. So unlike the celery, what you're harvesting here is the bulb underneath. Oh look, there was a little one here right next to it. So that was probably prematurely pulled. But it's this part right here that has all the, is what you use in your soups and dishes. And it's the same kind of delightful celery flavor. So I'll have to wash that up and trim it and see what we actually ended up with. But there you have it. Celeriac. Now this is the second planting of peas here, and it's two varieties. One half is snap peas and the other half is Chinese pea pods. And these are the Chinese pea pods from before that are all done for. I just need to pull them out of here. But we had a good pea pod crop for the most part. Now, what was not showing up at all last month is now coming in like gangbusters, and that's these red noodle yard-long beans, and if you've watched my videos before, you know we've got some. Those are Vortex green beans. The pole beans have just been producing like crazy. We've been blanching and freezing quite a bit of it. But these are the red noodles, and I like to grow them just because they get so long. It's ridiculous and a lot of fun. The other variety we're growing is right here, and these are called Marvel of Venice. I don't know if you can see that in there. Yeah, there you go, right there. That's not the most marvelous one. This is a pretty good one down here. But they're those large, flat Italian type pole beans, and yellow in color in this case. This next jungle here is sweet potatoes, and sweet potatoes, you don't get anything out of them until just before the first frost, and you just hope to watch them do what they're doing here, which is vining like crazy, and hopefully we'll get some sweet potatoes back in here. And I've got my rodent protection, which are actually floor mats, metal floor mats, outdoor floor mats, and because the rodents will go after those pretty severely. And Frankie's looking for some kale, and Tashi's just keeping up with the action, making sure that she's not missing anything. The kale has been great too. One of the nice things about the kale is that you can start harvesting it just when the leaves get big enough, but it continues to just sort of grow and be harvestable for the entire summer, it seems. We've pulled a few, but these ones that we've left in the ground are looking just fine.
They're beautiful.
We won't pull one of those today, only because we have so many inside already. This next row is cabbage, and the variety that I grow over and over again is Storage Number 4, which is probably one of the most boring names there is for cabbage, but they store well and they're very consistent in how they grow successfully. This is broccoli, which we're really only getting side shoots off of these days, but we leave them in just because.
Here's a nice one, Marvin.
And you can take that guy, just like that. Stick those guys in there. Have that tonight. I'm trying to make my guests hungry. This is sort of a mixed row. This was cauliflower, which didn't do very well. And so when it was done so early, I just planted the rest of my leftover brassica seedlings there. So 2 of these are Brussels sprouts. This looks like, I don't know what that is. Cabbage and a kale. I'm not sure. This looks like it might be cabbage as well. Now, this is Brussels sprouts, this row. And if you look down at the bottom, you can see there's plenty of Brussels sprouts coming in here. And they're looking pretty good. But they're not quite big enough to start harvesting yet. And these guys are the ones that are most susceptible to caterpillars. And this guy has been hit. All these plants have been hit, especially in the center here. And I just sprayed them yesterday with organic Bacillus thuringiensis, which should take care of that. But I obviously needed to do it on a quicker interval than every 2 weeks because they got hammered. Carrots, and I think we'll probably want to pull a couple of these just to get them out of the way of themselves. Kids, don't try this at home. You're not supposed to use a pair of scissors for a trowel, but I don't want to lose the carrot either. So, and this is a variety of carrots. This one's a little deformed, but it's supposed to be rainbow, which means this is like, for example, a light orange one. We might get some that are white, some that are deep orange. Let's see if there's something else. And this soil is is not as loose as it should be for carrots. But I didn't have any raised bed space. I had trouble just getting this guy out of here. But that's a pretty nice looking carrot.
Good carrot.
And that's the darker orange variety. So got 2 rows of those going. And right. All right, so beyond the carrots, we have a row of broccoli. This is the second planting of brassicas. They're in their early seedling stages, but looking okay. I'll need to thin them out again before we get the final spacing. Then we have all sorts of lettuce that's gone to seed, or bolting as they say. And those lower leaves that are thinner and
lighter green
color.
Yeah.
Those should still be fine for eating. The ones that are on the upper ends there are probably turning a bit bitter.
Bitter.
Then next we have a non-existent row of spinach. I planted spinach here, but the only spinach that's come up is right here. Behind you, Jesse. The rest is weeds. Now we're to one of Frankie's other favorite crops, because he just comes in here and helps himself, as he's doing right now. And these are all ground cherries. And with ground cherries, they grow in these little husks. And you know that they're ripe when the husks turn yellow like that. And you just pop the little fruit out. And it's delicious. They're sweet. They're cherry-ish flavor.
They're like candy.
But they're, it's hard to describe exactly how they taste, but Frankie knows that they're here and comes in and just helps himself. And we sometimes bring them inside, but most of the time, that's just what the gardener snacks on when he's out here. There's one, early yellow one. But that's the little brown cherry on the inside. And good. Look, Frankie, you're looking for what? You want that one? That brings us on to okra. And I haven't got any that I'm going to harvest because we've been keeping on top of them. But there are these little green pods here. And there's a bloom over there that's closed down. They open during the day and then they close down before they finally drop off and reveal the pod behind. But they've been coming in pretty steadily. And it's been rather tasty. Now this brings us to our non-vegetable bed, which is all sunflowers. And they haven't started to bloom yet, but they're getting close. I think you can kind of see in there that there's a sunflower forming. And the rest is just volunteer marigolds that all came up on their own. And we just let them grow in there as sort of a backdrop for the sunflower. Now comes the tricky part, when we step out of the garden proper and head out to the winter squash / pumpkin patch. I lost my Guinness.
Oh my gosh. I'll go find it.
Here, I'll take it.
Hang on, there's something in that basket that the
you want to grab that so that there's room.
cinematographer needs that.
Yeah. Wait a minute, there's a little flip in there. Okay, you guys stay here. All right, the winter squash and pumpkin are a good news, bad news kind of situation, which is better than being all bad news. The good news is I still have some melons growing, and I even have a melon on the vine, on one of the vines that's still growing. The bad news is, as you can see over in this section, I've had some just sudden vine dieback, and all my squash and pumpkins seem to suffer from that in one form or another. And last time, the acorn squash, which is what these are, winter squash, were just looking healthy and vibrant, and lots of squash were forming. Well, as you can see, some of these plants have just died back suddenly, which is the big problem that I have with all this stuff, is keeping the vines alive. Now there still looks like there's quite a few acorn squash in there. Hopefully they'll do okay. But still getting problems. Now the good news is the pumpkins, and that down there, there you go, that little flash of orange down there, then there's another one over there. Oh, thank you. There's a little green one coming in over here, there's another orange one over here, and those are all a variety called New England Pie, which is smallish, round pumpkins, of which those two, including one that the deer, I believe that is deer teeth markings, they've tried to snack on. So there's lots of those coming in, and then take a look at this. This is what's called Early Giant, and it's a jack-o'-lantern type pumpkin. You can see this one here, you can see that one there, you can see that one there. You can see a big green one back within the leaves there.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the biggest one, I think.
If you come around here, you can see one there. You can see one here. You can see.
Oh, that one's huge.
You can see one here.
Oh my God, that one's even bigger.
And you can see one over here. And these are all 30 to 50 pound pumpkins, I think. There's another New England Pie nestled back in there. There's another orange one back in through the leaves there. I don't know if you can see.
So many.
But then this is the first big one that I found. As you can see, it's almost completely orange. And then a couple of more younger New England Pies sitting right there. Another one here, and they're even still coming in. This one's just a few days old. On my foot there. Although there's some leaf browning and yellowing, there's no like total vine diebacks, which is what really kills the joy of growing winter squash and pumpkins. But the pumpkins, the New England Pie, which is the row in, have come clear out to here, and these are new ones forming. They've come all the way across into where the acorn squash are. So that's pretty good. Here, I'll let you hold that so I can get to it. And let's. Here comes the French ballerina. Oh look, we've got spectators here. Frankie, Natasha.
Jesse's right there too.
Yeah. Let's go take a look at the. Well, yeah. Let's come out here. See the apple tree, because I've got something strange going on with the apple tree too. Although there's lots of apples on it, as you walk up to it, you can probably see that the apples look like they're kind of just hanging out there in the middle of nowhere because can see on the ground here, all these leaves have turned brown and fallen off. Not so much in the very top leaves, or top branches, which look okay, but I've never seen it do this before, and this is really troubling, and I don't know if that's going to keep the apples from getting big and reaching full maturity, but I don't like seeing it. Tastes okay though? So even the small ones taste okay. But I just have to wait and see. I've been spraying it regularly, but it's just losing leaves like that. Like crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Very troubling.
Yeah.
But let's quickly run back here to the backyard proper where the rest of the fruit trees are. Here's a fairly good news story. Pears. Not as many as there used to be, thanks to the squirrels and some windstorms and stuff. But they're all looking pretty promising, pretty good size. You know, for this time of year, they have to go on until the fall before we actually pick them. But they're looking pretty good. They don't look like they are being attacked or in any way affected by pests. And of course, we have our scared squirrel that's been guarding them, that has a cicada shell on it.
Yeah, got it. A buggy.
So that brings us to what you got there, boy? A pear? Frankie does like gardening. We've got our nectarine tree, which there's a couple of troubling spots like this where the branch looks like it's died and the actual nectarine is rotting. There's another one that looks like it's rotting under here. But there are quite a few that are still hanging on, which is pretty good for a tree this age, only in its second full year, not even 2 years. Kind of bad news is that we had a few peaches on this guy the last time. Now we have none. We had one until just a few days ago, but finally lost it. So no peaches this year, but the tree itself looks pretty healthy, so that's not too bad. I don't think we have anything else to show you. And we're not going to San Francisco. Pretty good basket of stuff.
Massive.
Giving us a fair amount of work to do in the kitchen.
Yeah, baby.
Look at the pond. Looking pretty good. Water's pretty clear. The plants are looking pretty healthy. The fish are looking gigantic. They haven't been eating their food as much as I thought they would be this time of year. Frankie will switch from vegetable mode to frog hunting mode once he gets around the pond. But I think that's going to do it for the July Mom and Dad video. Find any targets, boy? Had a really good garden. We've got some problems and some not so problems, and but all in all, we're getting a really good harvest, and we are actually in the middle of the high holy days of gardening, which is July and August, or at least the first half of August, and we're going to be harvesting corn in a week or so. So that's really kind of the highlight of the gardening year is when you're pulling sweet corn and steaming that. But we've got plenty of vegetables to work on tonight on the grill. So that's what we're going to do next after a few more Guinnesses and whatever else we can scrounge up. But that's it for this month. Marvin Gardens, July 2017. Even though it's July 32nd, we're cheating a little bit. But that's going to do it. We'll see you next month in August 2017. Marvin Gardens. Bye, y'all. Do I see a red circle instead of a square?